Well, it is tax season, right? You already would know that. If you haven't yet filed your taxes and are preparing to do so, always important to be aware that tax-related identity theft is on the rise. We've had a lot of news stories about this. Well, joining us with some tips is privacy expert Rachid Zahidi with a little bit more on how to protect yourself. We're glad you could come out and be with us today.
Thank you very much, Monica.
What is your background to do this kind of thing, to give tips on security expertise?
Well, first I own a background check company called Sentinel Background Checks, and I also used to lead a team of money laundering investigators for a big bank.
Okay, so you know the nitty-gritty of how people play with money.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so when it comes to filing your taxes, these stories we've had is if you're filing and your information's not quite safe, other people are ending up getting your refund. How do you stop that?
Yes, absolutely. This is a great time for crooks to try and get some money under other people's names. And the reason they do that is there is a lag between when the IRS issues the refunds and when they actually go through the rest of the documents, like the copies of the W-2s that the employer send and such. So it's important to get there first and kind of file early. And it's always important to secure your information in print, electronic form, or when you're just talking about it or voicing it in a public place, because you never know who's listening.
So first, let me ask you, this means if you're filing and you've waited too long, like say you're not filing till now, you need to be extra careful because up until now somebody might have already found your information somewhere because you hadn't had it secure and they filed your taxes for themselves. And so the IRS sends them the check.
Yes,
Is
Monica,
that kind of how
you either get there first or they get there first.
Got it. Okay. So now about keeping the information secure, give us some thoughts on how you do that.
Well, we'll start with print. I mean, it's like incoming and outgoing mail. You want to make sure it's secure. You don't want to just put it out there because that's one of the first places they start. Because once they get their hands on your social security and your date of birth and all these identifying information, then they have enough to even make extra documents and even apply for loans.
Are you talking about regular mail or email or both?
Both. Both print. In print, mail, incoming, outgoing, electronic. Make sure it's secure. Make sure you have strong passwords. Make sure you don't use non-secure networks. Make sure you don't become a victim of phishing scams that you see a lot coming through email or even phone calls that you get from strangers impersonating your bank or impersonating a government entity asking you for your personal information.
Because the IRS would not do that, right?
No,
That's
never.
what they always say. Well, you know, you actually have some tips, and we've already started to cover some of them, so we're going to take a look at them just so people can have a really kind of cemented in.
Yes, absolutely.
We've already talked about you need to file as early as possible because if you get there first, nobody's going to be able to use your information and try to claim your money. Also, avoid having W-2s and 1099s sent through the mail. So you prefer to do that electronically versus in the mail?
Well, if you do it responsibly on the electronic side, then it becomes better. But it's less likelihood that the documents are going back and forth where someone can get their hands on the wrong person, that is.
Now, in terms of getting a reputable tax preparer, how do you vet that?
Well, I mean, if it's not your accountant or your CPA that you've been using for years and you're very familiar with, you have to make sure. You can go to the IRS. They have a directory of the ones that are vetted for and that are certified. But what you don't want to do is just go into this fly-by places that just sets up, shop.
And there have been stories about that in the news as well. So
yes.
Now, in terms of making sure that the computer that you're using is secure when you're doing your stuff, is there certain software that you recommend, or?
Well, there is a plethora of software now out there, but you want to make sure that if you're not familiar with this, get a professional to do it for you, but make sure
that they are also in the right realm, that they can explain to you what they're doing?
Make sure your software is up to date, make sure you use strong passwords, be aware of shoulder surfing as well.
Shoulder surfing? Oh,
yes.
Somebody's standing over your shoulder. Got
yes,
it. That was pretty, I was like, wait a minute, I lagged on that one. When you also mentioned don't get hooked by a phishing scam. How would that work? Yeah,
well, the way that works is through spoofing or through other forms. You get this email that looks like very official. It looks like your bank. It looks like they impersonate this. They do this very well. And then you click on it and it's saying verify your information. We need to update your information. Or you get a phone call as well, which is the same
Which you said, yeah, they wouldn't do that. Now, if you I've always had the question, if you just click on the email because you're not sure, but you don't go any, and then you're like, I don't know this person, then delete it. Is that okay, or do you really not even open it?
Yes, delete it and take it out of your emptied items.
So you can't
never open up. Yes.
You can't open it, but then not do anything with it, or you shouldn't even open it if you don't recognize it.
I mean, it's like if you don't recognize it, most of the time, the safest thing to do is
Get
just
it out
not
of
even
there.
open it.
Okay. You also say put copies of your return under lock and key.
Yes, this applies for any documents that have your personal information. When you're done with them, either shred them or put them in their lock and key. Don't leave them laying around where you increase the likelihood.
For when guests come over, there they are on the coffee table,
right.
like that?
'Cause, I mean, once you see it, you've got it. I mean, you can write it down. Some people can memorize it.
Okay, and we always hear about, getting these free copies of your credit report. There's a government site where you can get it. Why is that important?
Well, it is important for monitoring because you have to monitor. That's sometimes how you detect if someone is doing something they shouldn't be doing with your personal information. So if you don't have one of these services that monitors for you,
right,
then you can get the free annual reports, and you can get them from the 3 major credit reporting agencies. And sometimes you can stagger them. You can get one from one of them in the first 3 months, and then you get your next one from the other one in the next 3.
Right, you go through a government website, don't you, for that, and they hook you in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can just Google that.
Yes, a free annual report. Yes.
Okay, great. And you have written a book that also just allows people to know more about security stuff in general, because you have some good stories, war stories from over the years. I should mention it's called The Business Immunity System. Kind of fills people in on what's going on out there and maybe how to detect it.
Yes.
Where can you find this book? Can we get it online?
Yes, you can go to businessimmunity.com. It's available on Amazon or your favorite bookseller.
Okay, well, if you investigated money laundering for a big bank, I'm sure you're a great cocktail party guest. Good war stories, right?
Yes, I can give stories, but I hear stories as well.
Okay.
Because people, once they hear what business you are in, they tell you what happened to them.
So the point is, find out how to protect yourself first. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so
really
much, Monica.
Appreciate
Such a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And so now you know, be safe, right? And we're going to take a break. Head over to the Weather Department for the latest on almost spring.